Hi, welcome back. We're talking about the Centrify SSH Gateway that is part of Centrify Infrastructure Services. And in this series of videos, we're trying to demonstrate some of the security features of this capability and how they align with the shared core services of Centrify Identity Platform. In this topic, we're going to talk about policy, enforcing the least privilege principle, and access request. All topics are really wide, but I'm just going to focus on 3 bullet points. Enforcing access only from the corporate network, because organizations, when they're dealing with mixing on-premise with cloud infrastructure, the hybrid data center, that's one of the main concerns. I just want to make sure that only the people that are in my corporate network have access to my assets, regardless of where they are. The next one is related to a huge topic, which is the principle of least privilege, making sure that people only have access to the systems that they need access to. And something very related to it, which is that users should only have access to privileged accounts only when they need it, and typically better in a temporary fashion, and mostly that they're not exposed to passwords, right? So let's talk about it. For example, a very common control that Identity Platform has is the ability to set up a corporate IP range. So notice in here, since this is a demo environment and I'm using AWS, many of those IPs are typically scanned for SSH and RDP by people, curious people or hackers, right? One of the controls that I implemented was at the policy level is the ability to go to a specific system or a group of systems or a global setting and say, well, for a particular system, I'm going to have a policy that if somebody's outside the corporate range, I'm going to challenge for MFA. Right now, I'm still inside my company, right? So basically, I'm in my house and I have set up that IP address as inside the network. So let's take a look at my experience. So if I were to want to use this account for a login, notice that my experience is going to be quite simple, right? So I was able to jump to my AWS system. But I'm going to go to a different network. I actually am RDP'd into a system that happens to be in AWS, right? Actually in Azure. So notice that the IP is quite different. If I were to want to access, and let me find my session here. If I were to want to access that same system, even with the same account, which is an administrator, and I wanted to, for example, in this case, just pick the account and select it, notice that I'm going to be challenged for multi-factor right here. That's because the policy says that if I'm outside the network, I should provide an additional level of identity assurance. You could actually basically say that you don't want to require access if that's the case. Another area has to do with the 2 users that I have. So, and now we're switching to this privilege, and it's that I have a user called hall admin that has access to all the systems. But if we look at the other user that I have, which is Lisa, Lisa only has access to a limited set of systems, right? I think she has access to Squid as well, but notice that the local admin account has a lock, and that actually relates to the final requirement that not only I can limit access to what people should only have access to, but also if they need a shared account, they need to go through a workflow, and this should be done temporarily. So let's walk through it and use the SSH gateway to see what the experience for Lisa will be, right? So first and foremost, let's take a look at the systems that I have. So I have other systems like, for example, by IP. So let's see what's going to happen when she tries to access those systems. And let's see then when we request access to Squid. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. And we're going to establish a session. In this case, it's going to be Lisa. I have to go through step up, put my password. And now, for example, if I pick a host name that she doesn't have access to, so notice that she does have access to, let's see, well, basically right now, all my SSH systems. right? But let's take a look at accounts, right? So if I look into the local admin account, notice that she has to request login or checkout, right? Here, this user, basically, it's open for him. So let's go through the sequence. So I'm going to try and go to Squid, and the account is local admin. Notice the difference here. Hey, what type of access do you need? Shell or file? Because I may need a file transfer. I need shell. And notice it says, hey, you don't have access to this. Do you want to request it? Say yes. And the reason. So now I'm going to be kicked out because the request has been submitted. The way I've set up the system is that Lisa reports off to admin, and admin is going to get a request here, and it's right here. Notice that it says, hey, this user needs access to local admin on Squid. So I'm going to go ahead and approve it, and I can actually use a permanent assignment or a windowed assignment, and this could be, starting in the future. But in this case, I'm going to use the same time I have and submit it. So let's just so now it's been approved. So let's try and reconnect with Lisa. I am actually using the interactive mode. You can use a connection string. Notice that I already am through the pass-through. I already did multi-factor before. Within 30 minutes, I don't have to do that again, but I need to learn to type the right password. So slow with the password now. Just typed it twice. So now I'm going to pick Squid, and the account's local admin, and the shell access. Since it's been approved, now I have the access that I need. And again, so what have we proven here? That we can enforce policy. The most important one for organizations right now is I want to make sure that people can access my either on-prem or cloud systems are in a subnet or a network that I control. The second one is continuing to enforce the least privilege principle of security, and obviously being able to do access requests. And since this is about not having to visit the portal to do this, you can do an access request straight from the CLI.